Hey everybody, Buzz Miller of Wannabe Studios. Today we're going to talk a little bit about Ed Van Halen and some of the EVH gear and maybe some of the principles behind it. I might offend some people. Why do I start this? Because I just received an email that said, man, you need to make an Eddie Van Halen Frankestrat replica. That would be so cool. No, I'm not going to. We'll talk about why in just a second. Let me tell you when I think a replica Frankestrat is a good thing. I really like Eddie Van Halen, his playing. I like Van Halen. I like that era of music. And I think he is one of the greats that carved the opening for the genre we all live in. And I will tip my hat to him for that. If you want to have a piece of artwork that reminds you or is a flashback to those glory years, and you want that piece of artwork to be a replica Frankestrat, great, go for it. Now, here's why I'm not going to get one, build one, buy one, have one. Eddie Van Halen was Eddie Van Halen for one reason. He didn't want to be like anybody. He didn't want to play the guitars that anybody else played. He didn't want to look like the way anybody else looked. He didn't want to write the way anybody else wrote. And when he played somebody else's music, he made it completely his own. Some interesting things about Eddie and the way he plays. Now, I know he didn't like to be called Eddie in the second half of his life. He liked Ed or Edward. But neither of those roll off the tongue like Eddie Van Halen. So we're probably going to be calling him Eddie a lot. Hope he doesn't mind. He would come down on the beat impeccably well. But between the downbeats, everything in the middle was open for interpretation. He would move things and swing things and drag things and speed things up. And when you're trying to play like him, if you're trying to play 8th notes and 16th notes, you're never going to get it. He had a weird sense of timing. If you watch the video, in fact, I'll probably post a link to it. It's him playing the song Josephina on a Japanese TV show, and it's just he and Gary playing, singing harmonies. Listen to the timing on that song. You can go like this and hit all the downbeats. Everything in between is just out of this world. He never played like anybody else. Now let's get to gear. He never wanted to sound like anyone else. He was always trying to do something different. He would take a guitar that he liked and he would take a saw to it and a file to it and a lighter to it. And he would change and screw up stuff, and he didn't like the way the pickups were sounding, so he dipped them in wax and ruined them and melted a bunch. He was always looking for something different, and that's why his guitars were so cool. Why are we now trying to make the exact copy to honor a guy who did everything he could to not be a copy of anything? I think the spirit of Eddie is to be completely different from everybody else in the gear, in the mentality, in the way you write, in the way you play, in the way you interpret. So for me to make a Eddie Van Halen guitar, it's going to be all over the walls. It's going to be everywhere. It's going to be this. This was probably the first guitar I ever built. Why? My hands aren't like Ed's. My size, I'm 6'5", 280. He's half my size. We're not going to play the same neck. We're not going to play the same frets. I do not play like him. I don't hold the guitar like him. I do things the way I do them in trying to stay true to the idea of EVH. So this guitar, now if Ed could paint like that, his first guitar would look just like this. But he couldn't. He took a guitar that was whatever color, put some tape on it, spray painted it, pulled the tape off. Oh, I got some really cool stripes. And then a couple years later, I'm going to add some more stuff and then spray over that. No, now I got black and red and white. Now everybody's trying to copy it because I don't know why. Because when he did it, he wanted to be different from everybody else. And now we're trying to be exactly like him keeping the spirit of Eddie Van Halen alive. Again, if you want it for an art piece to hang on your wall, awesome. I got no issues with that. If you're looking for a piece to be your great guitar that's that's just perfect, go out and get a guitar you like and start hacking it and sand it and paint it yourself and change the neck profile and do this and that and find stupid and creative ways to block your Floyd so you can tune it to D, and I don't care if it's a quarter that flips in, but you don't have to copy him. You have to copy the idea of him, which is, let's be different. So no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be making a Frankestrat and doing a video on it. I've made probably 30 of them laying around this room, and everyone's different and unique, and they all fit me. So there's my concept. There's my video. Thanks for watching. If you have any flames or questions or concerns, or you just feel like yelling at me, feel free to do so in the comments or directly in an email. Thanks for watching. Keep on rocking.